world events going on right now that will most certainly cause food shortages and prices to go up in your grocery stores. Let's get to it. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to a coffee rant with Dano here. We are having the Great Value Colombian coffee. It's one that's really growing on me here. If you have to hit pause to get your coffee together for this coffee rant, go ahead and do so now. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe down below, as we do these videos every day to help keep you in the know and save you as much money as possible in a world where it's hard to save money in the grocery stores. And one thing that we can surely say is that events that are happening right now are most likely going to raise prices again. Now, we've seen where prices have gone up in the grocery store so much lately that it's hard to believe that they could go up any more. But with these different world events, I'm going to kind of explain a few things of why I believe they are. From doing this every day for the last couple years, going in and out of stores, trying to save as much money for people as we can. It's harder and harder to do that these days as prices just seem to be at ridiculous levels. Now, the first thing I'm going to talk about is I guess they're calling it a tropical storm. I guess it had lowered down to a tropical storm by the time that it hit California. First of all, our thoughts and prayers are with everybody out in California right now. It was a terrible event, added with a earthquake, a 5.1 earthquake that had hit Southern California at the same time. I mean, that's like the double whammy. Our thoughts and prayers are out there with you guys, and hope you are able to stay in safety and get. You know, it's like we see these things happen in Florida all the time, but this never happens out in California. From what I understand, the last time anything close like this happened in California was 1939, and I don't think it was as bad as it was this time. Now, as to where the damage doesn't look like it was completely catastrophic, like sometimes what we see in Florida, people in California are not used to these kind of events. They're used to earthquakes, but they're not used to these big tropical storm hurricanes. So, again, thoughts and prayers with everyone out there. But the one thing I want to talk about is something that we see happen in Florida when these kind of events happen. Usually we'll see citrus skyrocket in price because a lot of crops are destroyed. Hopefully these things don't happen, or maybe there wasn't as much damage as originally they thought it was going to be. But this is something we still need to talk about nonetheless. Now, a lot of the oranges that we get here in Ohio are California oranges. You know, so I'm kind of expecting prices to go up on those a little bit, mostly with like delays and maybe some destroyed crops. But I know that, looking at it from a Florida perspective, we see these things after a hurricane. We'll see price increases on these things for a few months, and then it'll start to tally down a little bit. But, we got to keep an eye on the things that California produces and distributes all around the country, because these things that were directly involved, some of the crops lost, will probably cause some major price increases, at least for a little while. But again, I know that's not the main focus of the matter here. The main focus of the matter is checking on all the people, making sure everybody is safe. That's number one. Number two that I wanted to talk about today is the Panama Canal. A lot of you have been wanting me to discuss this. Now, as you know, I don't like talking about things too much until I've read several stories, know what's really going on. I don't like putting no fake news on this channel. We're all discussing these things on this channel here together and working together to make it, as quick, as quick as we can get out the information, but making sure that it's 100% factual. Oh, that coffee's good. Really growing on me. So, Panama Canal. 200 ships were basically stuck, from what I understand, shipping containers, distributing products from all around the world. Most of you, if you don't know, the Panama Canal is basically the connection between the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean, being able to transport goods very easily and quickly throughout. But because of drought and stuff like that, what I thought was funny about this story is that they said that El Nino really hasn't affected this yet, that this is just a drought of rain. Okay? So it's like, well, if El Nino, then they're saying in the news and stuff, and this is why I wait to put things out. They're saying that El Nino could affect it even more. So think what you will about these kind of situations, but what I've gathered is that there are some ships, it's basically narrowed down to like 120 that are still there because other ships are rerouting. Now, it's not cheap to travel your ship through the Panama Canal. It's not cheap at all. I was reading that even a yacht that is less than 65 feet will cost you $1,600 to go through the canal to the other side, plus around $300 in security fees, and then there's like another $75 fee that they tack onto that. Now that is for a yacht, right? They didn't even discuss what a ship with big, huge containers and some. Lord knows how long those are. I couldn't find any information on that. Again, if you know, let me know down below. But it's very costly to go through there. But if you can imagine, like, if it's worth the cost to go through there, then the cost must be a lot more to have to go around. But that's what a lot of ships have been doing. They're going around because they have these products they have to deliver. It doesn't seem like it's an incident like we saw out in California where they, a couple years ago when they weren't docking because all kinds of excuses. We didn't have enough. I heard, it's funny too, because I've heard that truckers were there waiting. They had all different kinds of different regulations. There was like a EPA thing that they had to, Environmental Protection Agency thing that they had to have some kind of license for the emissions that their trucks. They had to have something put on there for them to be able to travel in and out of California. Well, with the world event that has happened over the last couple of years during the pandemic and all this stuff, you would think that some of that would have gotten waived, but I don't know. I'm just a guy relaying these messages. I'm from what I've gotten out of it, it seems like it's not like that kind of situation. The waters are very low. They have to be careful. You don't want ships to get stuck. I understand that. I mean, but at the same time, and as much as I hate that that's happening, this is something else that's going to add to price increases. That significantly raised prices when all of those ships, every day those were stocked, or every day those were out in the Pacific Ocean waiting to dock in California. This was costing everybody money. A lot of food that had to get thrown away. A lot of food that I guess we were seeing a lot of things that were very close to best if used by dates or expiration dates, or they just had to throw it away because and that causes price increases. Anything that is done with one thing happens to another, happens to us, increases prices in the grocery stores. Prices in the grocery stores is what we mostly focus on, but at the same time, we have to focus on these worldly events that are causing these prices to go up. Now, the biggest one here that I want to talk about here, and this isn't going to be a very lengthy discussion here. I'm trying to shorten some of these little news breaks down, is the war in Ukraine and Russia. Okay, now there's been a lot of talk on this lately. There's been a lot going on, and I've said for a long time that this is going to have a trickle effect. Now, as to where they say the U.S. may only get 4% of their grain from Ukraine, well, it supplies a lot around the world. So does Russia, right? And now we're having these disruptions, right? But these disruptions are causing other countries to have to raise their prices on things, which in turn is going to raise our prices on things. Look at what's going on in India. The rice shortage, or the rice ban, the export ban, it's already starting to take effect. As to where we haven't seen it yet in Ohio here, we are starting to hear around the country that there have been some significant price increases on rice and dry beans. We've seen dry beans skyrocket in price. And this is why I bring this to your guys' attention, because even though it may have not raised yet, it's going to. I could almost guarantee it. So, and I know that over 1 billion people rely on rice for their everyday regiment, for their everyday eating. That's how it is. People eat rice, and that is part of their everyday diet. So it's like when you start adding that in, not only are prices going to go up, but we're expecting to see some shortages. Now, surprisingly, I haven't seen that many shortages around Ohio here yet, but I've been hearing from a lot of places across the country that have. There were runs on rice down in Texas a few weeks ago, but we had heard up in Michigan, or not Michigan, Wisconsin. We have a viewer in Wisconsin who said that they had gone to their Sam's Club. They did not have any rice. And it could be that it's being a run on, but the prices hadn't gone up yet. So maybe the prices right now are staying the same. But here coming up, it's kind of the same with like meat, right? We remember a couple months ago, there were some pretty good deals on hamburger and steaks and stuff like that, but we knew there was a shortage. We knew the prices were coming. Now the prices are unaffordable, right? We have steak that's the highest it's ever been around the world, not just the country. And it's just crazy, guys. It's absolutely crazy. We just have to prepare. We need to make sure that we're being careful with what we buy, make sure that we stock up on things that we know we love to eat when we find sales on these things. These events are coming in droves, guys, with all the job losses around the country, with different meat plants and truck drivers, and now on top of everything else, and this, correct me if I'm wrong about this, and if it is starting to change, but I read a report that the truckers, the prices, part of the reason why truckers are having to check other places to drive is because the loads that they're taking aren't worth it. They're not worth it. If you take a load and you're not getting the money that you were a year ago, and if that's getting cut in half, I heard that some load prices are getting cut in half. In turn, the driver's not making as much money. It's a bad thing, guys. I mean, we really need to pay attention to some of these world events going on. We will continue to cover these as they go along. I was going to go a little bit more into what I think about the Russia and Ukraine thing. Let me know down in the comments if you would like to hear some of my opinions on that. I won't go in too deep of a lot of different things, but I will say this. This needs to end. This needs to end. I feel like everything, and it's needed to end a year ago, but I just feel like this thing is the constant push of money that is going in different directions, that is taking away from getting things back to any kind of normal. And when I say that, I mean that in the lightest way possible, even though there really isn't a light way to say it. But the money, we're talking billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars for no resolution. No resolution. So therefore, it's being taken away from what we could use to do good. And I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. Most of you guys probably know where I'm going with this, but at the same time, it's like we need, our country, our world needs things to function correctly in order to function. We need these things, and I'm some of the world events we talked about, the Panama Canal, California, that's nature. We can't do nothing about those things. But if we had, take the trains, look at our infrastructure. It is completely falling apart. There are, I know I keep saying an average of 1,700 train derailments every year, and it's only going up. And we're hearing around the world of more. There was another train derailment the other day. I can't keep up with them. People were asking me to do videos on them. It's like, I would have to do 2 or 3 videos a day on each train derailment, which it may come to that someday, but these are other things that are raising your grocery prices. Every day I go into the grocery store, whether it be Kroger, Walmart, Aldi, Meijer, anywhere, I could name you 5 to 10 items, at least 5 to 10 items, and that's only doing what I do for like an hour. I can name 5 to 10 things every day that have gone up in price. Every day. Whether it's a nickel, whether it's a 20 cents, whether it's $1. There's always items that are in constant flow of going up. People say inflation has lowered, right? Inflation has slowed a bit, but it's still inflation. It's still inflation. Prices are still going up, and we're having all these events that are falling. I don't want to say falling into place, but in a way they are. They're falling into place for these places to just charge more prices. Prices that will never come down. For the few things that we've seen come down that stores have promised us, no. They come down for a day, a week, and then they're right back up again. I'll be able to prove that when I go to Kroger again. We see it every week. And that's the disturbing thing. And then all these different events are going to cause more and more prices hikes, and it's not just food, guys. I mean, look at the housing market, and the more that starts to, I don't see anything happening with that. I know some people were wanting me to discuss that and what I thought about it, but I don't have anything to think about it right now. All I know is that stay where you are for now and keep saving money, and hopefully you'll be able to land that right deal on a house someday. That's the situation we're in. But guys, that's really all I have for tonight. Let's discuss this in the comments, though. Thank you all so much for watching today. We'll continue to update on these events as they come. As far as the different things going overseas, yeah, it needs to end. Us and a lot of other people are just, it's looking scary. It's looking scary in more ways than just food, guys. That's why we always talk about being prepared. Why we talk about, having a stockpile of your favorite canned goods or things that you can have on the back burner, because you know what? We never know what can happen, or what could happen, but it's good to be prepared nonetheless. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great night.